之助様のお通りじゃ。迷うな。
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for Japan's highest grossing film of all time, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba the Movie, Mugen Train. I'm Ashley Hobley, joining me today, Kieran Marchant.
It is hell of a title, hell of a movie. I'm excited to get into this one.
Yes. And also joining us to talk about some anime, Dylan Blight.
What's up, my wee brother?
What a way.
So please gives me shit like it wasn't my idea to start the Studio Ghibli podcast. Come on now.
That's true. Alright, please be aware that we will be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot, themes, and ending of the film, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. So with that said, let's jump into our discussion of Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, which I'm just going to refer to it as going forward.
I think that's smart.
Directed by Haruo Sotozaki, written by Ufotable, based on Demon Slayer by Koyoharu Gotouge, starring Natsuki, Hanae, Akari, Kitō, Yoshitsugu, Matsuoka, Hiro, Shimono, Satoshi, Hino, Daisuke, Hirakawa, and Akira, Ishida. Tanjiro and the group have completed their rehabilitation training at the Butterfly Mansion, and they arrived to their next mission on the Mugen Train, where over 40 people have disappeared in a very short period of time. Tanjiro and Nezuko, along with Zenzitsu and Inosuke, join one of the most powerful swordsmen within the Demon Slayer called Flame Hashira, Koyujiro Rengoku, to face the demon aboard the Mugen Train on Trakt to Despair. Kieran, how much of that did I butcher?
A lot, considering you recently watched the movie. There's a lot of names that you just
no names are not in anime. Names are not that important. You know, it's the guy with the hair, the guy who's horny, the guy who's got the bald head. Yeah, you know, all accurate descriptions.
Look, that's. I'll tell you what. It's nothing. Before we get into the actual movie, though, can we just quickly have a something just to go into this? Dylan has just recently watched Demon Slayer for the first time, leading into the movie. Can we get your thoughts on the original first season as a whole prior to watching this, so we know where you sit before you get on in?
I just want to quickly say that you're completely... Ash finished it after me, actually.
Okay, sorry. Well, actually, no,
I don't know.
I think you know what? I blanked out.
I think I smashed out those last couple episodes before you finished it. So,
so both of you, what are your thoughts on the first season before
you go, Dylan,
getting into the movie?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. As I think I said on What Do You Want to Watch, wasn't it, or whatever we recorded. The first 3-4 episodes, whatever it was, were kind of slow, but after that, it got into it. I think it's definitely hits its high in that last arc, I guess. The spider arc is what I just call it in my head. I don't know if it has an actual name. And that last 8-ish episodes or whatever I really enjoyed, where it's like the spider arc, and then they're like, that was some intense shit, so then they just finish off the season with more
a bit of training, and a bit of world building, where it's here are the best of the best of the Demon Slayers. Here's how the Demon Slayer organization works a little bit more. I think it kind of fulfilled it and just padded out the world a little bit more, which is nice. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, I enjoyed it overall. Like Dylan said, I think the first few episodes, I questioned why it was so hyped up, why everybody's going crazy about this series. I think it is maybe a little bit overhyped, but it's still very good. Action choreography is really good. A lot of interesting characters and character designs. But yeah, interesting worlds and that kind of thing. So yeah, I was definitely interested to check this film out. So Kieran, as the longest fan of Demon Slayer, how did you feel about the Mugen Train?
I loved I really loved this movie. I thought this movie honestly was amazing in terms of Japanese anime being presented on the big screen. there's a reason why this is overtaken Spirited Away in Japan for their kind of, but you know, it might be, honestly, I think it might be overselling. It might not be, as a movie itself, it might not be better than Spirited Away, but in terms of like the lead up to it, having a whole series of build up to it, having people invested in it, and then having the movie come out afterwards, I think definitely did lead to that kind of taking that position away from Spirited Away. I thought the animation was absolutely stunning for this movie. Like, I really loved it. The only thing that I wasn't so overboard on was the CGI over the train being demonified, or whatever you want to call it. I thought that was a little bit weird to look at, but it only lasted for a short period of time.
It looked kind of shit, that part.
Yeah, like, it did look out of place compared to, like, especially when the rest of the animation looks that, like, so good. Having that does stick out by, like, a sore thumb a little bit throughout it. I really enjoyed the story. It was an interesting pacing for the whole thing, considering how we had the main story of Mugen Train, and then when you think it's winding down, it actually hits like a second wind to go into this, with the upper three demon coming in and absolutely having this blow away amazing boss last fight and sequence for the end of the movie. I think the OST was fantastic. I caught myself kind of getting a little bit lost in the music every now and then. And how it was kind of building and emphasizing different points throughout
that song that's in the last fight.
Yes,
that's some intense shit.
Yeah, no, that was some top level, really good shit. Like, it was, I thought it was fantastic. Man, did it go to some like Demon Slayer's quote unquote dark in sections, but when it got to the section where he like cut off his own head, I was like, holy fuck! Like, I guess I understood. I was waiting for somebody to stop him from doing it the last second, but no, that is the answer. And then you get into the next quote unquote boss fight with him finding the lower one first kind of on the top of the train, and it gets real. No, he's falling asleep every time. Every time he cuts his own head off each, and that's why he wakes up. And that's some intense shit, especially for a character being like going through that, being like he's had to go through those emotions of suicide so frequently. Is kind of intense, but I really loved them building Rengoku up throughout this entire movie. I thought it was a bit weird, like, and maybe it was because I haven't watched Demon Slayer in a while, but like the first like little section of this movie, with Tanjiro's conversation with him, I felt his character was a little bit, I don't want to say abrasive, but like it was very kind of, all right, let me get used to this character a little bit, and then it flashed out a lot more going in. And he became a really fantastic character. I think I wasn't so shocked by his death at the end of the movie, considering we started with kind of the head of the Demon Slayers talking about losing children and losing members of the Demon Slayer Corps. So
do you know when I called that? As soon as they're all like, big bro, and they're like, he's like, I'm going to teach you all. I'm like, you're done.
that was the dream.
They were in a dream at that point. That was correct.
Yeah, foreshadowing.
I don't think this is a perfect movie by any means, but I think it is. I really loved it, and I'm looking forward to watching it again. And I'm glad that this movie is canon inside the anime, whereas a lot of other anime movies just don't actually matter whatsoever. There's, My Hero Academia has like 2 or 3 movies, but their movies don't actually mean anything in the canon of the rest of the universe or the rest of the series. So to see this movie come out, and this is important for people to watch in terms of their viewing experience with Demon Slayer going forward, I'm really happy with it overall.
Yeah. Dylan, what do you think?
I thought it was really good. I'll get my one big criticism out of the way straight away, which is I thought it was a little bit too long, and some of the scenes could have been brought down. Like, could have got a bit closer to that straight up 90 minutes, and I think probably would have just had better pacing or something along those lines. But other than that, I thought it was really good. I like how it literally just flows in from the anime, as especially as someone who just finished it. It like starts with the last 30 seconds to a minute of the last episode of the show. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, and it just like seamlessly comes in. Like the first, a lot of this, you're like, oh yeah, this could have just been an episode. This could have just been an episode. But then you get to some of the more, so the straight up train sequence. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot. So maybe this would have been too much for an episode. Like a lot of work for one episode of the actual show. And then that last fight, obviously, is I guess the key piece or whatever else. But I was my big takeaway when it finished, I was like, holy shit, it's so funny comparing this to the show, actually, because the show ends on sort of this big hopeful note where they're all joking around, they're about to go on this big adventure, and everyone's overcome some challenges and learnt some new skills, and off we go, and then the movie comes in and just ends on this massive like downer. I'm like, what a complete change of pace, but there we go. Even though I predicted that whatever his name is, Goku.
Rengoku.
See, the problem, so they call him Rengoku, but he goes literally Super Saiyan in this, and then once that clicked on my mind, I'm like, okay, well, it's just Goku now. He literally does go Super Saiyan. He goes full fucking YOLO at one point. Even though I predicted he was going to die, and I didn't really like his character when he showed up and by the way, because you haven't watched it for a while, he is exactly the same in his brief part.
That was
the
also
show.
the thing I was thinking at the start of this. I'm like, maybe I should have watched the last couple episodes of Demon Slayer before going into this, because I'm having to readjust myself to Demon Slayer again, with its writing style and everything. But yeah,
you could have, but I feel like you would have just adjusted yourself after.
Yes,
15
it was. It wasn't too
anyway,
bad.
so.
Like, it was pretty quick actually.
Yeah. So that is how his character is when you see him in the show. And even though I had watched it, even that first sequence, I was like, oh, this guy's just a bit of a doofus. Like,
Yes.
how much care to him? But I guess it's the big plus is that by the time you get to that last scene, you're like, oh god, like you actually, I feel like everyone, even if you are a bit like, oh, this guy's a bit of a doofus or whatever, by the time he dies at the end, the movie succeeds in making you, even if you don't particularly care for him, you care for the other three characters that you care about, and the fact that they're upset about his whole death. But by the way, not really a side note, but like tangential type thing. My cinema was, I think, 3/4 full, which is
that's pretty good.
literally the most people I have seen in a cinema for over a year at this point. And I go to cinema a lot. And the most people I've seen is for this fucking movie. There was a lot of people in there. A lot of them were getting emotional. That scene, what's his name? How do you say it?
Inosuke.
Inosuke. Yeah, there we go. When Inosuke starts,
that's what got me. Like,
yeah, that got half my cinema. I was like
holding it together. I was like, oh, I'm sad, but I'm not feeling, the waterworks or anything. And then he had his moment. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Him joining in at the end there, and even though they play it for a little bit of comedy at first, they're still having him like cry and everything like that. That's the people in front of me and behind me. I could hear them all like, oh, that's stuff. So it didn't get me because I'm not as invested. I certainly felt the moment, but I wasn't like actually crying. But it still worked for that level for me. So I really enjoyed it. I would say that my other only thing is kind of what I was saying before, which is that I felt a little bit let down by the whole, like, when they were like, oh, I'm a fucking train now. I was like, what a cool idea. I was like, I'm all aboard the whole let's make the demon just an entire fucking train. But then I just felt like the whatever it was, the CGI or whatever, it just kind of looked kind of shitty, and
the goo arms.
Yeah, it didn't really come together for me, and I felt a little bit disappointed by the way the concept came together by that. Yeah.
And it's a bit disappointing in terms of Ufotable as the creators for it. They are probably some of the best people at using CGI for interesting use of camera angles throughout it. Like, they're kind of sweeping shots where their camera movement sweeps through everything and moves with characters. And then you just kind of have that section of, like, and they keep showing the outside of the train so much. It's like, let's just not look at this for a little bit, please.
Yeah. I enjoyed it overall. I think, it is interestingly paced. It definitely feels like, obviously it's based on a manga, so you can definitely see the chapter moments and that kind of thing. I think the thing that kind of, where the thing you said was that the movie gets a second wind. To me, it just felt like that was kind of tacked on to a certain degree. Like, even though it was probably, that a big thing, I feel like obviously that would have been the end of one episode, and then he shows up, and that would have been the start of another episode. So,
it kind of feels like the first half is and could have just been an episode, and the second half is where more of the big budget action stuff is happening anyway,
so
like the movie side of it.
Yeah. So I enjoyed all the dreams story, sort of get a look into each person's psyche and that kind of thing, and kind of explore their wants and that kind of thing, and obviously seeing Shinjiro's family again and him having to walk away from them again.
Oh, that was also a toughie. That bit
That was a
where he's
toughie.
like-
And then,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
like
was
you
rough.
said, the fact that he had killed himself constantly. And then for that to be one of the tricks towards the end of the film, to almost trick him to commit suicide to stop the train demon or whatever he's called. Yeah, that was really interesting. A lot of interesting concepts, and then obviously that big...
The thing that's interesting for this as a movie is the fact that it still has to, and it's probably maybe the downside of it still having to work within the canon and narrative of Demon Slayer, because it then has to, towards the end of the movie, then it starts setting up things for down the track, where it starts talking about the upper demons and stuff like that, and how strong they are, and before bringing in the upper demon 3 himself. Like, it's just, it feels like it has to do that job of connecting to the next section instead of just being one movie.
So obviously I don't watch as much fucking anime as you, but this isn't a common thing, but do you think it's more acceptable now just because of Marvel and everything, where they think that's just, they can get away with doing a movie that's connected to a TV show, and people will be, they just trust that people will watch the movie, and then when season 2 shows up, they'll be okay with it.
I
You know
don't
what I mean?
believe so. Only because, well, one, I just think Japan and the anime industry as a whole just doesn't give a fuck about anything else going on anywhere, like, external to them. Like,
they love Marvel though. Apparently, all the
do they
Marvel things
really?
do really
Like,
well in
okay.
Japan. Yeah,
Right.
so
Okay. But
that's what I was thinking.
I don't think that's influenced them much, considering Demon Slayer is really, off the top of my head, in recent periods of time, is the only series that have done such a thing, where they have kind of the end of their first season leads into their movie. Whereas, as I said at the start, it was in my section was like, My Hero Academia is probably the biggest of the recent ones that have had movies in cinemas over here. They're all kind of these one-shot, self-contained stories that have...
But they're still connected though, right? Like, it's still
no,
canon.
well, not really.
Okay.
Like they kind of happen off to the side, but they don't really ever get referenced again in the actual main storyline or narrative. So you don't have to watch the movies.
It's like this
to be
thing
able
that
to
happened
watch
on the
this.
weekend.
Yeah, or it was like one of them is like freaking thing. I mean, he goes back in time in the second or third movie, and then it just never really gets mentioned ever again. It's just one of those things where, especially like it happened with all the Naruto movies don't matter. They're all kind of just like individual things that nobody references ever again.
I was thinking, remember they did that before the last run of Dragon Ball Z, whatever that was called, Super or whatever.
They did a
There was
Dragon
the
Ball
movie that kicked it off and introduced the
that
god
movie,
and whatever.
But that movie is also just if you go into the Dragon Ball Super, like wherever you watch it, freaking Anime Lab, Funimation, whatever. That movie is just the first season cut up. Is that first season smushed together?
Much in the way that the movies for Futurama got cut up for television as well.
Okay.
Similar kind of thing.
So they're treated like they're a series. Whereas this one, I think, even though I do think maybe towards the end of the train stuff, I was kind of being like, oh, this was just a big episode of Demon Slayer. I'm not that I was hating that or anything. This is just and of course the last section did blow me away into how hyped the fight was and everything. And I don't think they could have done that fight justice if they had done it in TV. Like if they'd done it through episodes, I don't think it would have come out as well. But I don't.
It always helps to watch a big fight on a bigger screen anyway. So.
Yeah, it makes it feel better. But yeah. I mean, I think that fight was less than 20 minutes long, so they could have done it
been close. Like the whole act from him showing up, whatever that demon's name is, from him showing up to the end of the movie would have been probably half an hour, I reckon.
Maybe.
Like maybe not the entire fight, but that whole sequence, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so you could have done it, and I suspect, start of Demon Slayer Season 2 will be a recap of the events of this.
I don't
in
think
some
so.
way.
I would expect them to do a quick 30, 45 second
Like
recap.
it'll be a quick
I
thing,
would
but it won't be
like an episode recap. Yeah.
No, I don't believe that.
Nah.
I don't think so. Not with the way
that'd be horrible.
not with the way that they led into this movie at the end of the first season. If they hadn't led into this movie at the end of first season and it was just a thing where the movie happened, then I would expect season 2 to maybe spend an episode or two going over it. But nah, there's not with how this feels so integrated into the overall narrative.
I'll tell you what, if people were against the idea of having to watch a movie to keep up with the storyline of an anime, the fact that everyone went and watched it and made it #1 movie in Japan of all time, that ain't helping. Like
I mean,
it's definitely
it kind of sets an interesting precedence going forward.
obviously shows people don't care and they're fine with it. So
yeah, whether other shows will follow suit, because obviously season 2 is not going to be here till sometime later this year, you would assume. So if season 1 came out April 2019, so you release a movie in between seasons to keep fans happy or keep the story progressing, like while they do the animation, because obviously some shows take longer to animate than others, obviously. But obviously we all enjoyed it. Apparently this is going to be up for the Academy Awards this year. Any chance?
I think for animation it could be.
Because there's what the fuck else came out.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
Like freaking maybe Onward and stuff.
Onward, Soul, Wolfwalkers.
Okay,
Boss
that's
Baby.
3 things.
No,
Come on,
the Croods.
you know what I mean? Like, there's no, come on. See, this could there's a chance this could actually make it because there's not that many movies like animated ones that make it. The 3 you named are the shoo-ins, and then other than that, no, get the fuck out of here with the Croods and shit.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either because they nominated Boss Baby. So, so anything's possible.
Yeah. So I've just had a quick look at the Golden Globes. Onward, Soul, Wolfwalkers, Over the Moon, and the Croods. So, obviously the Croods is the easy knockout, but yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I was going to say, so going into this, I assume this is going to kind of be a stereotypical story of, they're going to run into... See, I thought they were going to run into one of the high demons, whatever they're called, and the movie was going to be about them taking one down, because I'm like, that's an epic enough event to put in a movie. And I ended up being wrong, and I kind of like the way they do it, because even after learning... constant breathing technique or whatever the hell it's called at the end of the anime, and they make that out like that's such a huge step forward. This movie in a lot of ways just does a lot of like, hey, just take a step back, you're not that good yet, dude, kind of thing. And like having a high demon or whatever they're called show up and kick the ass of one of the what are they called?
Hanshiros?
Hanshiro, something like that. Yeah.
Hanshira,
having kick one of their asses really kind of puts into perspective of just how much more and how unskilled and novice our 3 heroes, I guess, are in the scheme of things. Even though old Blondie needs to fight while asleep is what I learned by watching this. That's the key to his powers.
You didn't know that already? That's just been like the key. Like he needs to be unconscious or asleep for his shit to kick in. Yeah. Otherwise, he is.
But he went off more in this. Like, did he? When he was fucking, I can't remember seeing him do.
He did. Because he did.
He did the spider.
Because against the spider, he did thunderclap and flash tenfold, and this was only like 6-fold. So like he was underpowered. This one maybe just because of the movie's budget, it could make it animated a lot better and make it look a lot cooler.
It looked cooler to me, so yeah.
It looked awesome. Like that's the one thing I think. All of like those animations, which are like the moves or the character attack animations, I thought looked all fucking stunning. Like they looked really good.
They're always the standout part of the anime anyway, whenever the water swirls around and whatever else, so in the sword moves. But that was also the highlight of the last fight, obviously. It was a lot of that to a degree. And as I said, he went Super Saiyan, so it's fucking that was intense shit.
I will say I was minor point. I was minorly annoyed on behalf of Tanjiro's swordmaker that he lost another fucking
what I was just
sword.
about to say.
He lost another fucking sword. I was like, are you kidding? He just threw the sword and the demon runs off with it? Are you fucking
It's got a tracking device in it.
Like,
You know that
holy
demon's gonna
shit.
show up later. He's like, I couldn't remove it. It was stuck here forever. Or, some shit like that. That's how.
Oh, it's just look. At least it wasn't Inosuke's, because Inosuke's swordsmith would just cry at him going at him again with a stone.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So, anything else you guys want to mention?
People should definitely go watch this. That's my big thing. Even though it sets a precedence of what anime studios could do, if you watch Demon Slayer, just go and watch this movie. It's really
I presume they have if they listen this far, to be honest.
probably, but
Yeah.
at the same time, if for some reason you're like one of those weird people that get spoiled and everything before they watch stuff, go watch it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Madman pretty much said day one, highest grossing film of Thursday. I think it's been similar across the board, so I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up by the end of this weekend being number one film of the week, which would be kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
But
find
I
out
guess there's not much
on Thursday is when I've
Probably
been
Thursday,
getting
officially.
I've been posting the stats supplied by I can't remember the people that do it, but anyway, I've been reposting stats lately, movie stats. So,
so
follow
if
our
you-
Twitter at Explosion Pod.
Yeah, if you want to find our Twitter, go to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You find all of our Twitter handles there, including Explosion Pod, which will have those stats on Thursday from whatever site Dylan pulls them from. There. Or you could also let us know what you thought of Demon Slayer, the movie Mugen Train, or what spoilercast you want to hear from us in the future. Or you can head over to our Discord by going to explosion.com/Discord and let us know what you thought there. Leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, on Twitter. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support and buy us a coffee. Every little bit helps. So thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
See you in the next episode of What Do You Want Anime?
Yeah. When we're talking about some more anime.